Hello, everybody. On today's episode of the Emotional Fitness Podcast, we're going to talk about a topic that's come up a few times in the last few weeks with clients of mine. And this topic is how to stop negative thoughts. Now, this is a complex and can be very broad topic, but what I'm going to do is help slice through all the complexity and show you why this is happening, where they're coming from, and how to navigate them and stop this from happening more often. To start, negative thoughts can be so sticky and can act like venom. If you've ever watched the movie Venom from the Marvel series, negative thoughts can be exactly like that. That little bit gets on you and it slowly creeps in until it's consuming your whole body, except instead of turning into a superhero, you actually end up just being an asshole or a really bad version of yourself. I've experienced this recently about a week ago when I'm trying to build this new business that I've started a few months ago, and I'm working with the company right now and doing the coaching, and it's feeling like nothing's working, everything's going against me, and I can feel just defeat and anger and just being upset. And to be honest, I was crying and I didn't know what to do. And I felt how sticky that a negative thought was, how once it latches on, it can just mold and take over everywhere until pretty soon I was thinking about my relationship, things with my kids, all these things. And it made me realize how sticky and how quickly those negative thoughts can go from being one small piece to this big whole, which isn't what we want and most of us can really struggle from. So to start to address this problem, we need to look at where negative thoughts come from. Well, our brains are designed to help us find danger. Danger in the form of physical danger, danger in the form of emotional, societal danger from our tribe or our people, any sort of danger. In fact, our brains are scanning for danger 5 times a second. It's a wonderful mechanism. However, this can cause a lot of issues. A really great example of this happened to myself a few years ago was when I was working for this company and I was their head sales manager, and we're growing the company. It was really exciting. And for a week there, they were meeting quietly without me, and normally they include me in the meetings. And it was a 3 owners meeting all the time, probably 2 or 3 times a day without me. And so it kept happening and it kept happening. And of course, these negative thoughts started piling in. My brain went to, oh, they're going to fire me because I was looking for danger, because I was looking for something to justify how I was feeling. And they kept it a secret. Anytime I asked, they'd be like, oh, no, it's nothing. It's just something we need to sort out, blah, blah, blah. And it kept happening. And so my brain was looking for this social rejection, essentially, this danger. It kept happening over and over again, day after day. I would go home and talk to my wife about it, and it just kept building up to the point where I was convinced that they were going to fire me because I was, for whatever reason, maybe they thought I was doing too well, maybe they thought I was making too much money. It was an odd situation. But I finally confronted them about it, and they came clean, and it was actually had nothing to do with me. It had to do with them wanting to start another company, something totally separate from what we were doing that didn't include me. But my brain was looking for problems. And yes, they were keeping it a secret from me, but my brain jumped to something negative that was going to happen to me. And I'm sure you've been there before when something bad happens and you see this little thing or somebody says this little thing, and we start drawing conclusions and going down this rabbit hole of negativity. And so that's there to keep us, it's there to protect us. And that's where it comes from, is trying to keep us safe in our group, from being physically attacked or even emotionally attacked. So the purpose of these negative thoughts and to address it is, the first thing is to step back and recognize that there is value there. They are coming up for some sort of reason. Maybe it's to protect you. But another way to look at them when you have these negative thoughts, is one of my favorite ways to look at them is look at them instead of negative thoughts, look at them as action signals. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, and it's so wonderful and powerful. And it's made a big difference in my life, because even recently, thinking of the business that I'm running and trying to help grow and doing the coaching, I was getting upset and frustrated. Why? Because I'm passionate about it and I want to see growth. I want to see something happen. And that's why I was feeling frustration. So if you're feeling that frustration, you need to take action and recognize that you're passionate about it and you're just needing some better direction to take action. If you're feeling angry, all of these negative emotions, maybe it's sadness, maybe it's frustration, anger, disappointment, lonely, they all have a key emotion that can help set you free from them. So that's why we have them, is it's to trigger ourselves to do something different. Because if we keep going down the same path, we're going to keep getting the same result. If you're feeling sadness in your life and you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep feeling sadness. So that triggers to help you recognize it's time to change. It's time to do something different. This is something that I keep coming back to and I've found so powerful, is that once I've felt that emotion, I take a minute, I take 5-10 minutes and feel it, and then start writing down what I want to do about it. So the next question then becomes, well, how do we stop these negative emotions? The reality is we can't. And I know it's not the answer you want to hear. You can't stop them completely because they're there for a reason. We feel anger for a reason. We feel frustration for a reason. We feel sadness and pain for a reason. If we didn't feel sadness, we would never know what happiness is. I always say if you're feeling angry, that's can be a superpower if you use it properly. If you harness it and use it to do something good. So the reality is we can't stop these negative emotions from coming. What you can do though is overwhelm your brain and how your brain is wired, because that's all these things are, is patterns. All these negative emotions you feel are patterns. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, you have two options. You can be, if somebody gets upset, honks a horn, flips him the bird, and then you're angry when you get to work, or you can brush it off and move on your day and think about and do something else. So it's a pattern. So what we can do is help overwhelm our brain, our thoughts, and how we want to live with the results and the feelings that we do want, instead of focusing on the things that we don't want. And that is part of your reticular activating system, which is super powerful, and it's your brain's targeting system essentially. It says, hey, this is important, do it. So how do we then, if we can't stop them, what can we do? Well, there is a 3-step process to doing this. The first and probably the most difficult part of this is when you're having those negative thoughts and you're upset, or whatever it is to pause. Have the awareness, and that's the key there. That's the antidote to the venom that negative thoughts are, is to pause and recognize that you're feeling that feeling. Take a second and understand that when you're feeling frustration with your job, that you're only frustrated with your job because what will happen is those problems and the negative thoughts can be sticky and spread out to your relationship with your kids, with money, your family, all these little things. So recognize you're actually just upset about this one thing. So having the awareness to pause, that's the first step. Just pause and recognize that these thoughts are starting to build. The second step is to change, make a change, put your attention and recognize you want something different. If you continue to want to think of those negative thoughts, you will. I had to have this real conversation with myself just a few weeks ago, as the story I mentioned before, about being frustrated and angry and all these things that didn't seem they were going my way. I had to stop and recognize I wanted different. There was a big part of me that wanted to keep feeling upset and keep feeling angry and frustrated, but there was a stronger part of me saying, no, I want different. I know this isn't what I want to live. And that's actually why I'm doing this podcast and doing these episodes. So I wanted change. So that's the second step, is understand that you want change and you want something different. Third step is thinking about something new, or what new do you want? What new result? What do you want to focus on? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel gratitude? Do you want to feel thankfulness? To be honest, it's tough to feel super happy in the mix of all that shit that's going on, of all those negative thoughts that are building and they're grabbing onto every area of your life they can. So my suggestion and what I do and use with a lot of clients is focus on gratitude, because it is the lowest hanging fruit to help you combat that sticky negative thoughts that are creeping and crawling everywhere. Focus on gratitude, big or small. Take a moment. Do you have two legs? Yes. Can you breathe right now? Yes. Can you see? Yes. Like anything big or small that you can be grateful for, just take a minute. Literally set the timer on and don't just think it, but take a second to actually appreciate that I have hands that can move, that I'm in a much better place than I was 5 years ago, that, you know what, as much as these businesses aren't going my way and it's frustrating, that I still have them, that I still have those opportunities. And that's what I had to do a few weeks ago, was to take a second. I literally pulled over the vehicle and just said, no, I don't want to change. I don't want to think these negative thoughts anymore. What do I want? And what can I be thankful for? And so that's what I started with, just starting with being thankful, having gratitude, the big and the small, whatever it is. You may not have the greatest life right now, but I know there's something in your life that you can be grateful for. There's probably 5 things that are really big that you can be grateful for. This is a practice I've been doing for over 10 years, and it has massively changed my life because it's helped me rewire my brain. And anytime I'm starting to think those negative thoughts, I'm able to take a minute and come back to this. And I would say on that third step, don't just think about what you want, but take action. Do something different, not just thinking something different and as I mentioned before, pausing and actually saying it out loud, but that can even be it right there, is thinking that new thought and thinking what you want, but say it out loud, say it to yourself in the mirror. There's a lot of really good research behind even saying positive things to yourself in the mirror can actually fill you up emotionally and make you feel whole and grounded by just looking yourself in the mirror and saying thank you to yourself. You can do this on your phone as well. Maybe even be thankful that you have arms, that you can breathe, that you have a good smile, that you have nice hair. It doesn't matter, whatever it is, big or small. And then take action. Find something that you can do. Write it down. Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's 3 things that you can do to help change the course and how you're feeling right now. It is one of the most powerful tools you can do, is to take action, but it's so underutilized. A lot of times we like to think about it, and I have a good friend of mine actually that about 7-8 months ago was struggling, and we had a good talk. And he's so cerebral, he thinks all the time, and he's a wonderful thinker, and he thinks of all these things that you can address, but that was what's stopping him, is he kept thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, to the point where when we were talking, I've never actually seen him be emotional, and he was a little, you could see he was getting upset. But as soon as he broke out of that and stopped thinking and started taking action, his life turned around almost immediately. And it was so powerful because he knew all these things. He knows it. Up here he knows it, but he just got stuck in those negative patterns and stuck in that thought. So that's really the biggest key I can give you, is to not just think something new, but do something new. Break that pattern, because negative thoughts are a cycle. They're a cycle that our brains have set in motion, and it's a pattern. So if we don't break that cycle or that pattern, we will continue to do it. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time. If we want new, we have to set a new pattern. So if you have that bad thought or that negative thought, the solution then is to pause. Take a second, pause, and recognize this is happening. Then look at the change that you want. Recognize you want something different. Then think and say out loud that new thought that you want. And I would say, as a bonus one, take action on it to reinforce that new pattern. And the last thing here is recognize that just from doing it once doesn't mean that those negative thoughts go away forever. It's impossible. Recognize that it will come back, but every time you reset and get back up, you're training your brain, your emotional state, your body, everything in you to get back up and do something different. Think of it like riding a bicycle. You don't fall over once and go, why didn't I do it? I quit. Or good examples when you're a baby. You don't know, nobody remembers, but you didn't just fall once and never walk again. No, you got back up and you just kept getting back up and you kept getting back up. So part of the change there is training that muscle, that get back up muscle, that grit, to be able to continue to move forward and recognize that the bad thoughts will come again eventually. But if we have that system in place of pausing, focusing on the change, having a new thought, starting with gratitude being the lowest hanging fruit, and if you can move up to happiness and joy and things that make you feel good, and then taking action on it. This pattern, this system is so bulletproof that Ed Mylett, Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, all these big names in the self-development world talk about this all the time. My hope is that my story had a better impact for you than some of these other people, because I know myself, when I hear a certain story, sometimes it doesn't sink in, but if I hear somebody else saying it, it can sink in really well. If you're finding you're struggling with certain emotions, please comment or message or reach out, because I would love the feedback and I would love to know what you're struggling with, so how I can help you and find a way, maybe create a whole episode on that emotion. Maybe you're feeling depressed or maybe feeling anxiety. It doesn't really matter what it is. Let me know, because that's my goal here, is to help you move through these tough emotions, and more importantly, recognize that you have amazing gifts. You are truly unique in who you are and your experiences. But our emotions can get in the way of that if we don't learn to have the fitness there and the flexibility and the strength to recognize that we are not just our emotions. So if you've got value from this episode, please share, because sharing is not only an amazing way to give to somebody else, but it's an amazing way to recognize that you got value from this and learn it and understand it yourself. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.